only eaten potatoes, nothing else but potatoes. And by doing that, he's lost 110 pounds. Wow. An unbelievable story. He's from Melbourne, Australia.
All right. This story for me starts a long time ago. As a junior, I was an elite marathon kayaker, and I was one of the best in Australia as a junior. I won a couple of Australian championships in marathon kayaking and multiple state championships. But I was always overweight. Even training 4 to 6 hours a day in a really hard sport, I was still always 10 to 20 pounds overweight. And I wish I knew then what I know now, because that 10 to 20 pounds was probably the difference between being one of the best in Australia to maybe being one of the best in the world. But if you guys hadn't met me last year, you would have been meeting a very, very different guy. I was, like we just said, I was 110 pounds heavier. But not only that, at the beginning of last year, I was diagnosed with clinical depression and anxiety, and I had a really bleak outlook on life. Pretty much every day I cried, and I didn't really understand why. It would just, waves of sadness would come, and I would cry every day, and I still don't really know why. It was just, over the years, have tried every diet known to man, and I always was able to do it for a little while, and then I would lose weight, and then sure enough, I would feel like I was on top of things, and I had my eating habits under control, and I would think, yeah, tonight I can just have one slice of pizza, or one slice of chocolate cake, or one cookie, or whatever, and I would fool myself into thinking that it was okay to do that. Well, the same with the pizza, like I could have one slice or two slices, and then it would just stay with me until eventually I just caved in and ate a whole pizza and followed it up with a box of ice cream and a litre of Coca-Cola. So it was, and then November, towards the end of November last year, I remember I was sitting on the couch at home and I was contemplating my relationship with food and how I would go for short periods of time, as I described, and then I would binge. It struck me how similar that behaviour was to the behaviour of an alcoholic or a drug addict. I'm sure we've all heard stories about a drug addict who's gone for 3 months or 6 months, or an alcoholic who's not drunk beer at all for 3 months or 6 months without being totally sober. And then one night I think, oh, one beer won't hurt, I'll just have one beer. And sure enough, they wake up in the gutter in a pool of their own vomit with no memory of how they got there. And it struck me how similar my relationship with food was to that. So it got me thinking about addictions in general, and basically alcoholism, drug addiction, gambling addiction, any kind of addiction you can think of. It's pretty much accepted that the way to treat that is to quit entirely and never do those things again. And most people agree on that, but we don't agree on that with food. And most people you speak to, it's pretty much everywhere that everybody says everything in moderation. It's okay. Just, have your chocolate cake in moderation, have your ice cream in moderation, all of those sorts of things. And I was thinking about that and thinking, this is just, there's a weight of evidence in my history that says moderation does not work for me. I just can't do it. If I try it, it works for a little while, and then I cave in, I can't do it. And I thought, well, maybe food addiction is like any other addiction, and maybe we should try treating that with abstinence. Now, obviously you can't quit entirely, you're going to die if you don't eat food. So I thought the next best thing I could do would be to quit all foods except one. And then that would take me as close as possible to quitting food. So then I did a lot of research. Eventually I decided on potatoes, and I made that decision about 2 or 3 days before the new year. And as any experienced dieter will know, you don't start your diet until Monday. So I was a bit like that. You don't start your diet until Monday, except it was a little bit different at that point in time. It was only a few days until New Year's Day. So of course, you're not going to start your diet until New Year's Day. So that's what I decided to do. The only failure in life is in not trying. So I thought, let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. And I don't know, I still don't know why, but it felt like to me that, like I said earlier, my life was not good for me. I was in a really bad place, and I wasn't enjoying myself, and I just had this feeling, this really strong feeling that if I could get through a year of eating only potatoes, some way, somehow, my life would be different at the end of the year. And I didn't like the way my life was, so I thought, whatever happens, life's going to be different, and that's got to be a good thing, because how it is not good. It's totally changed my life. I'm a totally different person, and like I said, I've lost 110 pounds, and this belt, I wear it hanging out as a reminder, because at the start of the year, that was like it was all the way in. I used that whole belt. If I put on another 2 pounds, I wouldn't have fit this belt anymore. And so a few things that I learned were, first of all, I think of it like when you want to eat, when you're craving a bad food, or when you want to eat chocolate cake is the thing that I use as an example. It's like there's a devil sitting on one shoulder and an angel on the other. And the devil's saying, go on, one bit of cake won't hurt. Just this once, and you can get back on your diet tomorrow, that's okay. And then the angel's on the other shoulder thinking, oh, I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe you should stay away from the cake. But the devil's louder most of the time. The devil, I think of the devil on his shoulders, it's like a cheap junkie that's just looking for a high, and it doesn't really care about your health and your well-being. It's just a nasty cheap junkie that's trying to get what it wants at your expense. So I came up with this plan that when I was craving something, when I wanted chocolate cake, rather than telling myself that I could never have chocolate cake again, that's a lot of pressure, and it's a big thing to say. I'm never ever eating chocolate cake again. I wouldn't say that. I would say to myself, no problem, you can have the chocolate cake. That's fine. First though, you're going to need a big plate of boiled potatoes. Get a big plate, fill it up high with boiled potatoes, and eat it. And get yourself full on potatoes. And then see what you're craving. And I did this multiple times. I sat in the McDonald's car park with a box of potatoes going, I've just got to finish these potatoes so I can have my McDonald's. And sure enough, I finished my big box of potatoes and I didn't want McDonald's anymore. I didn't want cake anymore. And when you're full, you don't crave things the same way. And that's a really important thing to remember, is to don't restrict and don't try to control your intake, because when you get hungry, that's when you make your worst decisions. So that was a number one tip I learned. Another tip was, who's seen The Matrix? Anyone seen The Matrix? Yeah, it's a great movie. He opens up the door and he looks down a long dark road and it's raining and he's about to walk out, and Trinity grabs his arm and says, Neo, trust me. And he turns around and says, why? And she says, because you've been down that road, you know where it leads, and I know that's not where you want to be. And that was a scene that I replayed in my mind lots and lots of times when I had cravings, that I know exactly what's going to happen. If I cave in and have one piece of chocolate cake, I've got a weight of evidence in my history that tells me that I know exactly what's going to happen next. I'm going to have another piece of chocolate cake, and then another piece, and then some pizza and ice cream and Coca-Cola and whatever else. And it was just about being honest with myself and saying, no, if I eat that chocolate cake, I'm probably not going to restart the diet tomorrow, because the 100 times that I've done that in the past is it's proven to me that I'm not capable of doing that. Thanks for listening, and if you've got any more questions, I'm more than happy to hang around and talk all night if I have to. Thanks everyone.